Hey, it's Millie, and welcome to the Generalist World podcast. This is a show where I interview people from the Generalist World community, and we talk things like the future of work, careers, predictions, their hot takes, and really understand what their squealy careers have looked like. So if you're a generalist who feels like they're living in a specialized world, this is the podcast for you. And we are live with the person who maybe like most in the world, I think I want to be. After Netta and I last hung out, I text our friend Nikita and I was like, I just think I want to be Netta. And so Netta, welcome to the pod. So happy to have you here.
Thanks, friend. I feel the same way about you, by the way. I literally, when I think about who I want to be when I grow up, I'm like, it's going to be Millie.
We're like that Spider-Man meme.
Is it you? Me? You? What?
Okay. I want to set the scene for people, and it's difficult when you're Netta. So I think what I would like to set the scene by sharing a story. And I would like that story to be, can you introduce yourself to folks and tell us the story of the time that you took over a team and it had an employee engagement NPS of -5 and you managed to turn it around to 63 in 5 months. What happened? Who are you? Who is this?
Wow. We're coming in hot. It's a big story. Okay. Let's start by introing me. So hi, I'm Netta, a member of Generalist World, absolute fan of GW. I think that's like my go-to first and foremost. That's like the underline of who Netta is like GW fan. But by trade, I am an organizational psychologist, which basically means my whole career is dedicated to building happy, healthy, and high-performing workplaces. And as part of that, I've had some cool experiences. I worked for a micro VC, helping them expand from Europe to the US. I worked for Fox and National Geographic, helping to build out the teams across Europe, Middle East, and Africa, all the way to the Disney acquisition, which was very, very cool. And then I was an early joiner at Multiverse, which is a tech unicorn today. But in the very, very early days, I joined in pre-seed and was there through 6 rounds of funding. So yeah, did a lot of building healthy, happy, high-performing teams in my day. And then 2 years ago, decided to go off and start Keshti, which is my little baby. And basically what we do is support particularly minority-founded tech for goods to basically get all their ops right the first time. So building healthy, happy, high-performing workplaces through their most valuable asset, their team. And we do that through fractional COO and scale advisory services. So that's my kind of intro. That's who I am. That's what I do. The team's story. Oh gosh, Millie, what do you want to know? That's a big story.
Okay, take us back to the moment you arrived and you realized the muddle that you were in. And then maybe the 1, 2, maybe 3 max, like insights or things that really stand out by the end.
Okay, I guess set the scene. A lot happened in that time. You know, we'd like just come out of a global pandemic. There was this really big grow at all costs narrative. There also was, at the same time as this grow at all costs narrative, this like, we need to start thinking about making sure things are like operationally efficient. And that was a whole mix up. Like we were growing, but not sustainably. And then some people were in the crossfire of that. Like it just wasn't very good vibes. So this particular team that I took over was, yeah, as we said, had a -5 employee engagement NPS score when I came in. And I guess the first thing to say is like they were not all particularly happy to see me. And I think that's quite an important thing to share with other leaders. Like sometimes we are tasked with taking over or turning something around, and we forget that one of the biggest hurdles is like whether or not people actually even want you there. So yeah, I think I came into a team that was quite jaded and not very happy for many valid reasons. And yeah, I managed to turn it around in 5 to 6 months to an NPS of 63. The ways in which I did that I hope people could take away. So it's such a loaded story with so many details, but I suppose like 3 very quick takeaways. One is having a very honest and like no bullshit disposition is a great way to lead. Obviously, you can't share everything with your team, and some discretion definitely needs to be exercised, particularly when it comes to like sensitive information, what's going on behind the scenes, and things that they don't necessarily need to know because it's just like unnecessary stress and burden for them. But a very no bullshit, just kind of like, this is what we are doing, guys. If you're not on board with it, totally understand, but like this is where we're going to go to. So make sure you've had an opportunity to decide if this is for you. I think when I came into the team, a lot of people were unsure if they wanted to stay or leave. And I almost just gave them like a honest, here's what to expect in the next 6 months, and permission. If it's not for you, totally fine. We will support you, but like make that call. If you are committed, then great. If you're not, that's okay too. So yeah, number one, have an honest, like no bullshit approach. Number two, I think was like, I managed to do that because I like helped the team realize what they bring to the table in a way that I'm not sure was always recognized. So there's certain rituals that I really stand for in my teams that I think support transparency and celebration, and I'd really encourage any other leaders to take on. One of them is having an office hour every week, which is just me listening to the team. That's something that like I will do in every team I'm in. But people coming in and just being like, hey, this isn't working, or I've got questions about this, or I'm not sure about this. Having that accessibility to your senior leader is really underrated. Likewise, another ritual I do is very graceful exits. So when people leave my team, they get an opportunity to say, I'm leaving. I'd always have the manager come off mic and say some nice words about the leaver as well. They'd have an opportunity to like get closure, say bye, decide how they want to connect with their different colleagues. And that is so much more humane than finding out that somebody no longer works with you because you log on to Slack and their profile's not there anymore. Or you get a blanket email that says so-and-so doesn't work here anymore. So these sort of rituals humanize your leader, even though that team was 110, but I would say it was quite flat. Like there were definitely structures in place. People knew who they reported to, and that's incredibly important. But there was accessibility. There was a real sense of we're in this together, whether it's here or there, entrance or exit. So far, we've got no bullshit approach, like being a human and having certain rituals that encourage camaraderie. And I think my last one, which is also quite underrated, is train your managers. So when I came in, I took on a leadership team that had all the potential in the world, but no training and very little investment. Talk about like learning on the fly and just doing their best. And sometimes our best isn't enough. So if you're a senior leader coming into a team and thinking, how can I turn it around? Any moment of free time that I had went into investing back into my leaders so that they could be you in a room that you're not in. That's the best way, I think, to have people, again, move in a committed collective, is having everybody, I hate this line, but like sing from the same hymn sheet. Like have one narrative that brings you together and just operate in unison. But in order to do that, you have to trust that your leaders can represent the values of the team and the business in the room that you're not in. And so all the time that you have available to you should be used to invest in your leaders and develop them.
Ooh, okay. She's in hot. The gold nuggets are already coming out. I have questions. When you say invest in your leaders, I can imagine someone listening to this, they're maybe out on a walk, they're driving their car, and they're like, yeah, I want to invest in my leaders. What have you learned about the things that actually move the needle when it comes to investing in your leaders?
Number one, teach them how to hire. In my opinion, there's like no more important role in the entire world for a leader than building out a brilliant team and knowing exactly what to look for. Like, it's just one of those things I'd really hesitate to outsource. I know it can be so easy to go and like get a recruitment agency on it, but you're not trying to build bums on seats here. You're trying to build a proper team. So number one, teach them how to hire well. How do you do that in practice? I'll give an example from my experience. I used to do the final stage interview, and if somebody was a no at my stage but passed my leaders, so the stages before, we'd always do a retroactive and discuss like what flags did they see, if any, that they didn't have the opportunity to uncover, or they didn't do enough digging to uncover before that person came to me. Because ideally, by the time it comes to me, every flag should have been dug up and sorted. So we'd always do a retro. I'd also get people to sit in and shadow my interviews, and I would do the same for them. So we were all collectively learning from each other. But number one, most important thing you can do is teach people how to hire. Number two, teach people how to retain. And retain stems everything from onboard people well to, when you've got a great person in your team, how do you stretch them without overwhelming them so that they can start to learn the skills necessary for their promotion? How do you handle difficult conversations, performance conversations? How do you give feedback without tiptoeing around issues? How do you have honest, candid chats? And how do you exit people? Like everything in that retention life cycle is so, so important. What you don't want to have is leaders who have starkly different practices in the way they do things, because people will talk. And in a team, it's, with so many people, there can be ripeness for unfairness or favoritism. So you need people who know how to hire and retain just as well as each other. The last thing, which again, kind of one of those secrets, is train your people on how to manage themselves. I always ask my leaders when something doesn't quite work, have you looked in the mirror? And that's not me being like, this is your fault, fix it. But it's like, well, let's look in the mirror first. What happened in that conversation? Where did we operate from? What went on? What were our own perceptions, projections, whatever? These are hard conversations to have, especially because your leaders have 100% earned their way into that position, especially if you put them there, they've earned it. And what you don't want to do is demoralize them or make them feel like they're under a magnifying glass. But what you do want to get them to do is feel really comfortable going, before I give this feedback to my report, what might be going on here for me? Am I sure that I'm approaching this with the best of intentions and I've thought about this conversation? Or if they've made a mistake, you want them to go, right, what happened here? Did I flag this early enough? What could I have done differently? This helps manage things like ego, and any kind of like difficult behavior, even things like burning out and making sure that you can manage your own workload. These all require self-management to be able to escalate, manage your own manager, manage your team properly, manage yourself with your colleagues. So yeah, I would say the 3 top development areas that maybe we overlook, but are super, super important to move the needle: hiring, retaining, self-managing.
Whew. Okay. We're warming up. The muscles are stretched.
We're hot.
We're hot. I'm going to keep rolling. I'm going to keep rolling with it, because you have this amazing vantage point where you have, as you said, you've worked with Nat Geo, you've worked with Fox, you've helped build this unicorn, and now you're a fractional COO, and so you get an inside view into how loads of different companies run. So I've got 2 questions, and you can answer them in separate or in the same, if you like. The first is like, what's your take on how organizational design changes in this world where AI is here, where we all know what the world is like? We don't need to spell it out. How do you think that kind of changes? And the second question is around your philosophy. Like, what is your personal philosophy to building these high-performing teams?
Wow. Loaded question. I think it's easier to share where people get org design wrong through not necessarily a fault of their own, but because they don't know better. And I feel like the best thing I can do is as an organizational psychologist who's been there, done that many times, is share like, what does good actually look like? And then I'll share my philosophy. So bad org design, and they're so subtle that sometimes we don't even realize we do them, or we just go, it's not that big of a deal, I'll deal with it when I get to it. Bad org design is, number 1, building roles around people. So you look at the current team you have, or you think about, I've got a buddy and they'd be so good working for us. I just need to steal them away from their current employer. I'll give them any job they want. That sounds really great when you're building something from nothing because you just want super like-minded people, best people ever, blah, blah, blah. But here is the risk of building roles around individuals. One, you don't build a team around what the business actually needs. So you're always trying to fit square pegs in round holes. You need someone who can do a very specific thing in marketing. You're spending time finding the most relevant person you have in the team because that is what startup life is. It's just everyone wearing a billion hats. But you're basically spending time and money trying to upskill them on something that they're not skilled on because you want to keep them. Or you bring your buddy in from so-and-so other workplace who's incredibly senior and expects a budget to be able to do what they're used to doing. And you're a scrappy startup. You don't have budget. So that's number one. Building roles around people. Failure number two, not getting budgeting right. So people come into money all the time. This is typically what I actually help my clients with when I do fractional COO work is they've come into funding, whether that is a round, angel round or VC round, or they're just super profitable and they've bootstrapped very, very quickly. Amazing. And I help them design their orgs. And the thing that they often do is they budget for a salary. They go, we know we want to hire someone. We could probably pay them 40K and that's it. So we need a budget 40K from that amount we just got. And I go, all right, well, how long is it going to take you to hire that person? And then how long is it going to take for that person to actually be productive and roll? And then what happens if we don't hire them correctly? What if they're a mishire and we have to start over again? So I always say budget for that person's salary plus minimum, an extra 6 months. I mean, I would do 9, but I mean, 6 is better than nothing. Like, just please budget for the time it's going to take. A mishire costs us an insane amount of money. We're talking like 18 months sometimes of their own salary. So budget correctly is lesson number 2. Org design lesson number 3. Stop being so hung up on role titles. Role titles suck and they are bullshit. There's no science to role titles. However, there's a big if. The caveat is you can use people's existing role titles to see how senior they are in role, and you really need to take that seriously. So if you need somebody, again, let's go early stage startup. You need somebody who has been there, done that, but they're very happy to have their hands on the ground. They want to be building. They want to be the one doing the doing. Excellent. Do not hire them as your COO, CMO, CTO. Like, that is a strategic senior role. And most early stage companies do not need a C-suite. Sorry. Like, you just need people who can do the doing, sort of mid-level generalists. I'm going to do a little plug for the generalists out there. You need some generalists. But you don't need C-suiters. And at the same time, you need to ask yourself, if you bring someone super junior in, like a junior ops person or a founder's associate or a so-and-so intern, like, do you have the time to train them? Also, do you know what you're doing enough to train them on what good looks like? Because a lot of founders are really good at the thing that they are good at. But that doesn't necessarily mean unless you're like a multi-exited founder, or like you've been a founder a few times, or you've done many jobs. Like, for the most part, do you have enough time and skills to train this very junior person on what good looks like? So that's the other thing with org design. I think people get some money in, they go, oh, I really want like a VP of marketing, which is shocking to me. Why do you need a VP of marketing when you're super early stage? Like, their job is building out massive marketing teams. That's wild. But people do it. Or they're like, I need this super junior person, then don't have the time, energy, or headspace to properly train them. So don't do that either. Role titles are BS. Like, look for what it is you need. Look for the business need and only plug in the business need. Now, my philosophy. I think my philosophy is pretty similar. Don't build roles around individual people. Make sure you budget properly and get the level that you need in correctly. But one last thing I would add to that philosophy is you need to build tomorrow's team today. So I think a lot of founders are incredibly reactive. They're like, today's problem is this, therefore I need to bring someone in for this. I would say contractors are excellent for solving today's problem. Like that is why contractors exist. Utilize them. If you have a big glaring pain point today that needs to be solved, go and get a contractor, freelancer, fractional, whatever. If you're trying to build a team that's going to solve tomorrow's problem, scale into a new geography, take your product to the national scale, whatever it is, but your full-time team, you're building tomorrow's team today. You're solving tomorrow's problems today. That requires you to get out of the weeds of the day-to-day and just very much think, okay, who is my forever Avengers squad? Or like my Avengers squad for at least the next 2 years. Very different way of thinking about org design.
It's a beautiful distinction. I wish that we had had this conversation on day one of Generalist World. I think every founder, every single founder, everyone building a company, anyone building a team needs to hear this, because it's not necessarily something that comes instinctively. Like for me, I'm like, oh yeah, like that's not an instinctive thing, especially when you're like, yeah, I would love to build a role around the person, but I can completely see, and I've experienced how that might not actually work in the long run. So that's a really, really helpful point. What I'm hoping to do for this section is almost like a rapid fire, where we've got three frameworks, it might be philosophies, methodologies that I want to go through. And I'm simply going to say the name, and then as succinctly as you can use examples if you have examples, make them clear for us, make them nice and concrete. You ready?
Ready.
We need like a bing, bing, bing or something, some kind of like fun sound effects. Maybe James, our producer, can add in some funky sound effects. Bing, 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 bing. Chaos.
Chaos stands for keep, automate. The O can be outsource or optimize. And the S is for scrap. This is a framework I use. There's an exercise before it, which actually is every single person should make a quadrant like this. And in the quadrant, I can even send you a picture, Millie, of the quadrant. But in the quadrant, there's a good look at your role. And it says, what do I love doing and should continue doing? What do I hate doing but need to continue doing? What do I love doing but I should not be the one doing? And what do I hate doing and I should not be the one doing? I get founders to do this, and it's an exercise I still do every quarter. I've done it in every one of my teams. So we basically do that, and then chaos is very quick. Once you have this grid and you've populated it with those 4 different areas, you go, which one of these do I need to keep? Which one do I need to automate? Which one do I need to outsource? Or if it's not quite ready to be outsourced because the process is shit, then it needs to be optimized before you can give it to other people. And the S is scrap. I guess some like very high level examples of that is like, I've seen people say like, I hate networking, but as the founder, it has to be me who's doing it. Or I hate selling, but as the founder, it needs to be me who's doing the selling. I'm a technical founder. I like to do the build, but I have to be the one selling it. But then there's other things which like you really don't need to be doing. Like, I'll give a good one for me. In certain seasons of my life or business, I should be going out and meeting new people. But I scrap that for 3 out of 4 quarters every year, because sometimes I want to spend time just developing those people that I've met. It's almost like farming. Like I will plant seeds
Yeah.
and meet new people and whatever. But then I'll just spend the next 3 quarters harvesting and giving attention and love to that group of people. So yeah, 3 out of 4 quarters, I scrap meeting new people, unless it like organically happens. That's chaos. Keep, automate, optimize, outsource, scrap.
Beautiful. And also just naming, like explicitly naming that it's okay to scrap things, that you actually don't have to be doing all of the things in all the quadrants all of the time. It is like so okay to scrap.
You literally can't. You can't do all the things.
Okay. This is actually also really helpful. I'm meeting with Edja in person on Thursday, and we're doing like a review and we're planning our 2026. So Chaos will be joining us on Thursday.
And I'm going to send you the little quadrant. Have fun.
Send me the quadrant. Okay, framework number 2. Beautifully named. Netta Maslow's team hierarchy of needs.
Someone like dubbed this in my team, and I think it's the funniest thing. I love it so much. But basically, I had said it's that healthy, happy, high performing workplace. A team needs to be healthy in order to be happy, in order to be high performing. I won't bang on about it because there's so many examples, but the easiest way to think about this is if you're sick, you literally cannot think about anything else other than getting better. And it's only when you've gotten better that you can then think about, oh, okay, I'm healthy now. What makes me happy? Am I going to spend my time reading a book? Am I going to spend my time going outside? Am I going to spend it with friends? What am I going to do? And once you're healthy and then happy, then you can be high performing, which kind of, I don't know, it's kind of akin to like self-actualization without being that big of a deal. But if you think about Maslow's hierarchy, it was like first, I don't quite remember, but it's like at the bottom, you need to have the basic things like safety, food, water, etc. And then you can think about like purpose, what do I want to do with my life? And then at the very top, it's self-actualization. So teams need to be healthy first, then they can be happy. Once they're happy, they can be high performing. I think the mistake too many people make is they want a high performing team and they don't give a shit about the health and the happiness, and that is a folly.
And that is why we need to clone Netta and have her in every team at the top organizing. And because to me, it seems like, what do you mean this is not what people would live by? Like, clearly, if you're missing the healthiness or if you're missing the happiness, you're not going to get people who are high performing.
I appreciate you saying that so much, Millie. However, I think it's also worth saying, like, I am not for everyone in terms of business. There's a lot of companies out there that, like, don't care if you're healthy or happy as a team. Like, especially in the current state of the workforce and future of work, which I know you and I both care a lot about. But, like, the way the world is going, like, we are at an all-time low of loyalty between companies and employees. So I actually think my way is probably not, it's not the most vibey.
How wild that it's radical to have happy, healthy teams. I know that you're a data nerd, and that is one of the things I love about you. And not to put you on the spot, but to put you on the spot. Do you have any like data that backs up that healthy plus happy equals high performing?
So I do have some stats. You ready for this? Okay, the first one, and I guess let me first preface this by what makes a healthy, happy, high-performing team is a whole debate. One big component of it is obviously like feeling like you can be yourself. And I don't mean the whole bring your whole self to work thing. I'm not for that. We can go into why. But this is about like you can be you at work. You can say what you think without fear of being reprimanded. You can contribute and feel like your skills are appreciated or being put to good use. So I suppose the stats to really think about is we've spent the last few years making massive strides to address and reduce workplace bias. And it's teams that have minimal bias that end up doing really well. So workplace bias is a phenomenon which stems directly from what makes us different from our colleagues. And we spent the last decade focused on inclusion in the whole future of workspace, or like current workforce space, as we focused on DE&I, inclusion, making sure we had leaders at the top that adequately represented the populations we served. So we made massive strides to address and reduce workplace bias. And that was very positive. One good stat is McKinsey's Diversity Matters Even More report found that orgs in the top diversity quartile were 39% more likely to financially outperform teams in the bottom diversity quartile. And let's fast forward now. Like we're in a world where all of a sudden people are, well, we're having a backtrack basically. So if you were a leader who promoted DE&I, all of a sudden you're condemning, scapegoating, and even criminalizing people who are speaking out about DE&I. That's what we're seeing in the world. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of organizational leaders feeling the pressure to just like keep the peace at the expense of the global workforce. And that is also having some really bad ramifications. So a few more stats. Gallup did a state of the global workplace report in 24-25. There'll be a new one that comes out this year, which I cannot wait to sink my teeth in. But some of the things they found were employees who perceive bias are nearly 3 times as likely to be disengaged at work. In 2024, global employee engagement fell to 21%, which is like a staggering low, and cost us $438 billion in lost productivity. And the active disengagement cost the global economy then $8.9 trillion, which is 9% of the global GDP. Wow. So if we bring it back to that kind of like hierarchy, healthy, happy, high performing, another stat to know is 70% of team engagement is attributed to its leader. So if you're a leader, a lot of this rests on you. And when you've got a whole globe of leaders trying to keep the peace, not knowing which side of history to fall on, it's a lot of pressure. I get it. But that's why we're seeing these crazy disengagement stats, people feeling more isolated and like a recipient of bias than ever, and it having real costs. I mean, $8.9 trillion in the global economy, that's massive. So there's some data for you, Millie.
She brings the receipts. She never comes without the receipts. Thank you, Netta. Thank you. We have one final methodology that I would like to hear your thoughts on. It's a bit more of a mouthful. Chaotic structures lead to savage restructures.
Wow. I feel like you could write a book about me and all of my silly little sayings. Yeah, I feel very strongly about that. If you have a chaotic structure, then absolutely it will lead to savage restructures. Why are all of these layoffs and like, oh, we're just trying to optimize our teams and we've made record wins this year. We've had record sales, and as a result, we need to now lay off everyone. Or like, oh, with AI, we now need to lay off everyone. Why does that happen? I truly believe it's a systematic thing. So, it's down to the system. If we set things up bad, then they scale bad. I could go into why all day, but that's what it is. If you have holes in your foundation and you keep putting plasters on them, then at scale, it will just erupt. Like, put water in there and they're going to eventually get rid of the plasters and go right through the holes. So absolutely, chaotic structures lead to savage restructures. Build sustainably from the start, slow and sustainable. You probably won't have to do crazy mass layoffs in a few years.
You heard it here first.
Call me crazy.
Yeah. On that note, do you have any spicy takes, any hot takes, or any just predictions of what's coming over the next kind of 12, 24 months?
God, I have so many spicy takes. The first is, I mentioned it earlier, but because employees are being penalized for their beliefs, even when it's unrelated to work, actually, which is quite scary, I feel like psychological safety is like absolutely evaporating. And I'm not somebody who's like, psychological safety is we all come together, hold hands and sing Kumbaya. That's not, or like I said, bring your whole self to work. I'm not a believer in bring your whole self to work. I think people have the right to compartmentalize and bring the pieces of them that they want to and not be forced to do anything they're uncomfortable with. But what I am concerned about is that people will try to stay quiet to maintain the status quo. And I don't know any team that can be high performing. So if we think again, the hierarchy, you can be healthy, maybe even happy in this climate, but I don't think a team can be high performing if they can't disagree and challenge each other constructively. I have been in roles myself, and I have also seen others in roles where in order to keep the interests of the business first, they've had to sacrifice their own values and be a part of things that they didn't feel comfortable with. We're eroding trust, we're eroding psychological safety in the leader themselves and then all of the recipients of their leadership, I'm afraid. So I'm worried about silence. That's one spicy take. I do have a spicy take about AI. Oh my gosh, everyone is talking about AI, and I might throw up if I'm involved in another conversation about it. But there is a spicy take I have, which is that in our pursuit of speed and profit, many leaders are being forced to use AI and forcing their teams to use AI. I don't know if AI will replace people per se. I don't know. I think it can be a great tool to help us do things better. But my concern with that is we're not training people how to use AI properly. We are basically telling them outsource your thinking. And oh my gosh, I did a really funny quiz the other day where I was trying to build a quiz for a family member's birthday. We love a family quiz. And I tried to find all of these global events that happened in the year that they were born. And one of the answers ChatGPT gave me was oh, the Central African country Belize went through XYZ. And I typed back to ChatGPT and I was like, I don't think Belize is in Africa. I'm pretty sure Belize is in Central America. And it was like, you are absolutely right. Belize is not in Africa. Do you know what I mean? I'm just I know that AI makes mistakes, but my concern is how many people are actually going and challenging it or just using it to hype them and tell them what they want to hear. TLDR, I just worry that in our race for efficiency, we're actually dehumanizing the workplace. We're really getting rid of creativity. We're stifling innovation. Speed's great, but speed's not everything. So I'm worried about that. My last spicy take, but it actually has a positive to it, is because we are also eroding trust and loyalty, we are creating we're seeing the rise of a creator economy. That's a good and bad thing. When individuals no longer see work as a community, but just a thing they need to survive, unfortunately, we end up having a lot of isolation, fear, loss of shared purpose, burnout, things like engagement will plummet, innovation will stall, employees don't trust leadership, as we already know, that costs us $1 trillion in lost productivity. So yeah, I worry about the apathy, and then I worry that the A players, the really, really excellent people who are I don't need this anymore, I'm just going to go and do my own thing, then go off and do their own thing. Then you end up having hundreds of people from one workplace who are so brilliant and no longer working towards one committed collective on anything. They're just all working in silo. So instead of being team builders, the high performers are going to take skills, ideas, corporate playbooks, whatever, and build their own ventures. And while that is really cool because we're seeing a whole new world of portfolio careers and exciting ventures and whatever, the fact is we're bleeding talent. And companies are really missing out on the ability to build inspiring, healthy, happy, high-performing teams because those guys are I don't need this shit. I'm just going to go and do my own thing. And they're doing it well. Why should they come back and work for you?
Yeah, I'm seeing it everywhere. I'm seeing it in generalist world. I'm seeing it on LinkedIn. I'm seeing people say, absolutely not. I'm going to go out on my own and I'm going to do this on my own. And I hadn't actually seen it from that perspective because to me, I'm hell yeah, entrepreneurship. Let's go, self-employed, freedom. But I can see, of course, that there's so much value in this collective vision as well. It's okay, well, let's put 100 of our smart brains together. Historically, we've had these companies and, they're the world-changing companies, the unicorns, the game-changing companies. And often they have had really large teams to be able to do that. But I wonder if moving into this world where you can do more than with less, and particularly where these people don't want to work for people who don't value the healthy, the happy, the high-performing, do you see a world where you can create these world-changing, really amazing companies that have an actual dent and actual impact beyond a teeny tiny team? And maybe it's these, 50 to 100 people teams creating these world-changing ventures.
Oh, 100%. I also think it's worth saying there are some companies and also people nothing wrong with this, that are very happy to have like a stable job where you go, there's work to be done, it's a maintenance job. Then at the end of the day, you finish work, and basically work just supplements, well, it like funds your life. I think that's a really healthy way to have a relationship with work. So there's nothing wrong with that. I suppose most big corporates are like in a maintenance phase. Like the building has already been built. It's now just making sure that the lights stay on and the work gets done and runs. So to answer your question, can a small team come and do something with less? Absolutely. I feel like it has to be a problem that hasn't been solved. That's where startups are really compelling for people who are purpose driven. You know, we want to solve a problem. We're all super committed to the problem. We bring a set of skills that when used together can contribute to solving said problem. I think that's when it works very, very well. But the common denominator with all of those is very, very purpose-driven people who know what they bring to the table and can use their skills for good. I don't think you need inflated teams to solve those issues anymore.
I would love to spend the last section, we could talk all day, but let's try and be reasonable here. I would like to spend the last section talking about basically having a fractional business. I know that this is something that a lot of people are thinking about. Keshti, I believe, celebrated your third birthday.
Second, we're on year 3 now.
You're on year 3. Congratulations. So cool.
Thanks.
And I was wondering if you look back on those 2 to 3 years, what is something that you might do differently knowing what you know now?
I would do nothing differently. I know that's such a cliche. I would do nothing differently because I genuinely believe everything I did had to be done for me to get to this point. But I suppose with improved wisdom, if I were to build a business again, I'd have a better litmus test of what I'm willing to give to people. And what I mean by that is I would not necessarily do everything by charging for it immediately, because I think you need to do some things at a lower rate or some things for free to show the value you can give and to build trust. But I think in my newer state, my inexperience, I probably gave too much of myself for too little value. And I would not do that a second time around. I would charge for more things. I would charge more for things. I would not waste as much time on people who wanted a lot from me at a very little price point. And I would spend my time going all in on the people who let me get on with work, trust me to do good work, are easy to work with, fun to work with, and willing to pay my rates. That is what I would do differently. I would change my litmus test knowing what I know now, but I wouldn't do anything differently.
And we are coming to the end of 2025. What would make an amazing year if we were to fast forward to this time next year? What's happened in the life of Netta and what's happened in the life of Keshti 1 year from now that would make it amazing?
For me, when the world of work is going well, then Keshti is also going well. I know that sounds counterintuitive because actually you would think, oh, I need people to be in pain and have problems in order for me to have work, for Keshti to have work to do. But it's not like that. I think if the world of work is going in the right direction, and by the right direction I mean we are sustainably hiring and building teams. We are managing exits gracefully. We are giving a toss about how we lead and the legacy we are leaving in our teams. Then actually, Keshti's going to have a great year because it means that instead of having to work with founders on fixing fires, like putting out fires and fixing problems, I can actually help them just get it right. Like we've got the foundation we need to grow and to scale, to have exponential outcomes without having to put loads in. But we have a foundation. Like at the moment, a lot of the work that I do is the foundation is broken and I have to help turn it around. Whereas imagine a world where we've done things all right, and there's a foundation to just build off of. Wow, what an amazing year that would be for Keshti.
I love it. Amazing way to end. But I do want to give you space. If there is something that I haven't asked you and you're like, I really want to be able to talk about this while we're live, you have the floor.
Ooh. There's one thing that I want to leave people with, which is that the world of work right now is seriously broken, which I know sounds so morbid, but I want to give some hope. There are still amazing companies out there who care a lot about their employer value proposition and being a great place to work. I don't want job seekers to feel so jaded by the, I know, incredibly dehumanizing process of finding work right now. I know it's hard. I've never seen it as bad as it is. But I don't want people to get so jaded and dehumanized that by the time that company does roll around in their search, that they have nothing left to give. And so I know that that's a big ask, but I do want to leave job seekers with, there are definitely companies out there. I know because I work with them, and I'm really like, they are smashing it. So hold out, leave the little bit of energy you have left to give it your all for the company that really does value you. You're going to regret passing it up. So that's the one thing I'll say to job seekers. And on the other side with leaders, my cautionary tale would be, you are being handed some incredibly difficult and isolating decisions right now. I see you. I've been there. I've been at the precipice of having to make some of those decisions. I've chosen to make some, and I've chosen to leave others. So the message I would leave to leaders or founders or anyone in the position of having responsibility for other people's lives and careers is just decide like which side of history you want to be on, and don't do anything that isn't in alignment with your values. Because at the end of the day, if you have a team that you've built and you want to hire them again, like, your people are looking to you. Mm-hmm. Everyone in their life and their immediate life knows who you are. Like their partner, their spouse, their dog, their mom, all of these people know who their boss is. And so I'm not saying make decisions to be liked by other people, not at all. I'm saying make decisions that you'll be happy sleeping with at night, because the world of work is still small. If you want to hire these people again, or if you want to lead them again, or if you want to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I'm at peace with myself, then just don't make decisions, no matter how much business, global, corporate, whatever pressure there is. Don't make decisions that are not going to be in line with your values, because you're the one who's going to have to live with them. Times change, business changes, workforce changes, the economy changes, but you still have to live with yourself. So make decisions that you are at peace with.
You're amazing. This has been
you.
a value-packed hour. I hope, listeners, that you have gotten so much out of this, and I will share all of Netta's links so that you can follow up and subscribe to her wonderful newsletter and follow her on LinkedIn. Netta, thank you so much.
Thanks, Mel. Had fun as always.